What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to Nuggets Today, presented by Fan Art. We obviously got some topics to cover for you guys today, and I think the biggest thing is obviously this media day. I mean, I covered it yesterday, I guess, was officially media day. And there's some things to talk about, some things to bring up. I think the biggest thing to start with here is the management and what Wallace and Tenzer had to say as their first official media day going into the season as managers. I know that they had their media day coming out of the season last year as the managers were beginning of the offseason, I guess they had their media day, but they were asked about Jokic and Jamal and talking and having to talk to them before making any moves, and their answers were, in my opinion, phenomenal. They just spoke about how they think that it was the right thing to do is to talk to them and make sure that they think that they're making the right moves, because these are two key guys in the organization and in the franchise in general. So I like the point that they made there, where again, they're not going to take it upon themselves to make moves because they think it's the right thing. They want it to be a almost unanimous decision, or at least the players to agree with what they're doing in order to go ahead and make those moves. So I like that. I like the fact, like I said, the fact that I think that it brings more unity to the team and the organization. The other thing that they spoke about briefly was they couldn't make any comments on negotiations with Christian Brown and Payne Watson, but they they did talk about it a little bit, and they said that they have sort of brought up the conversations, and they're in a good headspace right now, which is good to hear, because that means that things are probably going in the right way, and they're probably going to come up on a deal that's going to help them both. And I think that CB is rational enough to understand that if he takes less money, that means extending Jokic for more years. That means bringing in more vets, keeping the vets that you have now, being able to extend a guy like P-Watt. If Pickett does play to what you want him to play to, helps you extend him a little bit. And another thing that I want to bring up now with Pickett is the fact that they said they expect a lot of, development and flair from guys like, breakouts from guys like Strother, Watson, and Pickett, which I was sort of interested in, because that means that Pickett is going to officially get minutes this upcoming season. And it's not really a topic of what if, it's more of a topic of when it's going to happen. So now that Pickett conversation turns to, well, what if Pickett got minutes for the Nuggets this year, and now it's going to turn into Pickett got minutes this game for the Nuggets, and he did this. So like I said, I think that's interesting. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick on the manager side is the fact that they were praising Jamal, and they weren't the only ones to do so. There were a lot of other people that did speak about Jamal very highly. So the fact that he was making sure that everybody was in the gym, and he was really one of the leaders for this team. And talking about leaders, another guy I want to hop into is obviously, I think, maybe the most important person I listened to yesterday's media day. I do want to cover some more stuff tomorrow in tomorrow's episode, but I didn't get to everybody. I listened to, I believe if you go and watch the YouTube live back, it's about 2.5 hours worth of stuff, of content, and with work and, my schedule, I was listening to everything throughout the day. So I listened to all the managers. I listened to Coach David Adelman, sorry. And, I think that there were some very good points, and he spoke about their locker room presence last year had leaders that are no longer on the team. Those leaders are guys like Chanchar, obviously Russ, and obviously DeAndre Jordan. So he expects guys like Jamal, guys like Jokic, and guys like Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon to take that step up as leaders for this younger crew and this new set of guys that they have with Cam Johnson, Curtis Jones, Spencer Jones, who's been in the organization for a little bit. Obviously Tim Hardaway Jr., guys like that. So I think that was massive, and it's nice to hear something like that from DA. The other thing I want to speak about is something that I think is funny, because he made a comment about Val and Jokic potentially playing together at times, which I said earlier in the season, and everybody that watched this early in the offseason, everybody that watched the podcast earlier in the offseason said that I was an idiot for saying that and that would never happen. Well, DA thinks it's going to happen. He brought it up. He said that, you'll probably see lineups of them two being out there. So that's interesting, as well as him making the point about every opportunity is going to be more, or you have to take advantage of every opportunity more this year than last year, because there is more, playing time to go around to certain guys. And that means that there's going to be a limited opportunity for certain guys. So if you know, you made the point, if you go in there, you have to make the most of it, because if you don't, then you probably won't see many minutes this year with guys like Cam, guys like Timmy, guys like Brucey, all coming back to the Denver Nuggets and making an impact. Now, he also spoke about the coaching staff and the adjustments that he is going to make. He did say that Dudley is going to be mainly a defensive head coach. And he also said that J.J. Barea is going to be a sounding board for his offensive side in the offensive coaching gig, because he was an offensive coach behind Mike Malone. So I thought that was interesting too, that he said that he wanted J.J.'s experience, because obviously D.A. has the experience, but J.J. is a guy who played the game. His knowledge is super high. He's super well known in the just NBA in general, in the entire association. So I think he's going to bring, or he said he's going to bring JJ on as a sounding board for the offensive side, which I think is also interesting. He also said that as an offensive coach recently, he was happy to learn the defensive side of things. He does want to utilize the zone more and have it be more successful this upcoming year. Like he said, he had very little time to learn it, and he thinks that he could perfect it. And a lot of guys are in the gym constantly working out. And like I said, he thinks he could perfect it. And the last thing I think that the last note I wanted to pick out was the fact that he said he doesn't want all the players to be cliquey. He doesn't want people to have their own cliques and their own groups, because that's when things start to fall apart. He wants everybody on the team to be one unit, and I fully agree with that, and I think that's great. That not only him, but guys like Jamal, guys like Wallace, Tenzer want this team to be one unit rather than just a bunch of guys. The next person I want to get into here is the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. His presser and what he was talking about, and I know that he came sort of later, but I did skip to certain parts of certain people I wanted to hear and cover beforehand, and I obviously have my notes for tomorrow's episode and other guys that I want to cover. And the one main thing is that he said he wanted to be a Denver Nugget forever. So I think the extension talks must be going well, or they should go well this upcoming year, because he wants to be in Denver. He was pretty funny. He said he had to make new friends because he lost all his friends in Russ, Vlaco, DeAndre Jordan. And he actually didn't mention MPJ, which I thought was funny. But the thing that he brings up and, he talks about is the fact that, it just seems like he wants to win. That's all he wants, is for him to have a unit around him where he can win. It's a new, he said it's a new energy, a new group of guys that he has to work with. But I think that all good things are coming out of what Jokic had to say. I don't think there was anything negative. Nothing really to hop into that was too drastic or massive to cover. But I just wanted to obviously bring up a quick note on him. And the last thing I want to bring up is just not really media day, but I guess it happened today, yesterday, and the day before. The Warriors are officially finishing just about their offseason. The only guy they're waiting for now is Kuminga. And I mean, listen, they made some moves. They brought in Horford. They brought in DeAnthony Melton. They brought him back. They're potentially bringing Seth Curry, and Gary Payton III is working out a contract negotiation with them in order to come back to the organization. So they just about grabbed 4 guys. They're waiting on the Kuminga deal. Either it looks like it's going to be a sign and trade, or they're just going to pick him up for 1 year. That's an inflated, like a balloon contract, they call them, where he comes back on 1 year inflated deal, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent next year. So they have some potential in the Western Conference, maybe a bottom tier potential, but they're still in the playoff mix somewhere. Anyway, that is all I got for you guys today, Nuggets Nation. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.